Hi, everyone. Mike White here. Welcome to the November 2020 monthly coaching call. It's a really uh, appropriate time for us to be approaching Thanksgiving and looking at all the things that we have to be thankful for as an industry, given how many around us have faced exceptional challenges and many have lost either significant income or all of their income to loss of jobs, especially that large percentage of people who are in the hospitality and the restaurant business, unfortunately, have really been forced into a corner. And at this point in time, looking forward, there's not a lot of positive news on when that's happening, other than the fact that we're seeing some good stuff when it comes to vaccines, and hopefully that'll all happen sooner rather than later. But what I wanted to talk to you about today and go into a little bit of a detail about are the three key things that I look at, the awareness that we need to have approaching 2021, because I think point of reference is important. And I know many of you have been really knocking it out of the park when it comes to the number of loans that you're doing and the dollar volumes, and it's been a very active year, and many of us are tired, and many of us are pushing as hard as we can, but it becomes a challenge to work on our business as we work in our business, to be able to step back and look at what's going on. And I just wanted to give you a heads up, if you hear any loud banging or things going on, I'm actually having some work done on the house, and they're working, so I don't want anybody to be shocked if something like that happens. I didn't want to cancel the call, and as we all know, when your contractor is ready to work, you kind of let them work. So with that in mind, let's get started with the things that I want to bring to you this month. And the first thing is the balance of power and the changing of the referral triangle when it comes to where our business is coming from. And I don't think a lot of us have taken the time to really acknowledge that we're in a combination of things that have presented itself both on the purchase and refinance arena. And some of us are looking at our improved numbers, and even though we've gone through business planning or are going through business planning, have really not taken the time to dissect the information clearly to understand that while we may be 10 or 20 or 50 or 100% better than we were in either units or dollar volume, it's comparing that to the makeup of what our business actually is seeing. And yes, I'm going to talk about national numbers. And yes, I want you to know your local numbers, but points are to be taken that across the country on a national average, we're about 20% higher in total purchase business than this time last year. Yet many loan officers who have improved their numbers significantly are not 20% higher in their purchase numbers. And in fact, some people are significantly higher in total units, and dollar volume may very well be trailing their purchase numbers. And that's true for many in the mortgage industry, because let's be honest, refinances are pretty plentiful and abundant. And for those people who are really conscious of their databases and maintaining those relationships and keeping those people informed, it's become pretty simple to maintain a very steady diet of activity through the ability to continue to refinance. And I'm going to talk about inventory and refinances in the second phase of this. But the purchase business, I need everybody to step back and get a good handle on, because if you're one of those people whose purchase business has slipped or has not maintained the same growth as the national average or as the average in your market, you should want to pay attention to that. And the primary challenge that I'm seeing are those loan officers who are largely dependent on realtor referrals for most, if not all, of their purchase business. And that's become something I've warned about for years and tried to let people be aware of, is that realtors are unfortunately controlling less and less of the purchase lead referrals that are available in the market. It's just the fact that with all the different social media, internet, realtors, lenders, agencies, information blitz, realtors are not only in less control of their buyers and their sellers, but because of the pressure being placed upon the realtor by online, listers and sellers, because of the pressure on those people who are listing and selling property without a physical presence in their marketplace. Because of that pressure, realtors in general have become less demanding of their clients necessarily to follow their lead or to press them on a direction of somebody that realtor knows to not only be local but highly effective in understanding market conditions. It becomes more and more of a challenge for realtors to suggest to their people that they get a pre-approval versus a pre-qual from an online source, or getting a pre-approval that's really based in having seen documentation and run findings and following a process. It's become less of a realtor focus to make offers on properties using the ability to close within 30 days by a local lender on that purchase deal, because that buyer has been pre-approved and been fully vetted in the process. That they don't use that as a negotiating piece. And it's unfortunate that many of them don't do that, or they don't explain to their clients the value. And I think mortgage people have some of the blame to take for that as well, because they don't necessarily promote why their pre-approval is better, why getting a full doc pre-approval before you start the process is a huge advantage for the borrower. If nobody's making that case for the borrower doesn't necessarily know that there is a case at all. And some people would be perfectly willing to go through a fully documented and vetted process if they knew they were giving their agent a negotiating chip when it came down to somebody that was selling a property. Because in our markets all across the country, it's not only the best dollar offer that wins the deal. We're seeing very competitive offers in markets, especially in the trade-up arena, where people are finding their house and then having to sell their own and are forced into making sure that they can close in a short period of time, or at least their buyer can close if they're selling their house to someone and they have a house that they're already in contract on. The ability to offer a fair price and to close within 30 days or less becomes a huge advantage in negotiating thing, that even if somebody who offered more money but couldn't close for 45 or 60 days or longer, that becomes a value. I don't care about the money as much as the timing also has to meet the needs. And I think understanding that and being aware of that may help your realtors and may help your buyers strengthen their positions. But even with that said, many people are going online and they're getting online pre-approvals, or they're talking to people, and like loan officers who are afraid. They're not going to insist on doing a full doc pre-approval. They either do a pre-qual or a haphazard conditional approval, pre-approval, and hope to clean it up later, because they're afraid that customer will go off to somebody else who will give them a piece of paper that will placate them without understanding how it may be costing them in the long run. And the way we can control some of that for ourselves and understanding is that competing with online lenders is probably not the place you want to be. Competing with people who are buying leads lists or going out there and selling rate is probably not your customer. But being the person who is explaining to them what the process looks like and how they can take the most advantage of the market as it stands right now and giving them more options really is a huge benefit. And the people who are seeing the benefits in those types of loan officers are starting simply your own database of people who have had a great experience with you in the past. People on social media who are commenting on some of the trials and tribulations of these online deals that either don't come together at all or come together finally after a long period of time, or people that have had to pull their deals and go on to other lenders. You see them on a fairly regular basis. I see it on a fairly regular basis of people getting rejected after they were pre-approved the day before closing. And you wonder, how did we not know that this was not going to be a deal weeks or months ago? And the answer is people are gravitating toward real time. I don't have to, I'm so overloaded with work and opportunity. It's all about transactions. It's not about relationships. And again, that'll be a piece that I'm going to cover later. But your database, your other professionals, the accountants, the financial planners, the attorneys, um, those people, small banks and credit unions, infinitely more in control of purchase referrals for any number of reasons. And those referrals, for whatever reason, tend to be stronger referrals to you from those types of professionals than they are many of the agents that are out there, the realtors who can refer you. So while I'm not telling you to abandon your realtor relationships, I'm telling you to take a really good at the allocation of where your resources and your energy is focused, and understanding that, yes, there are still a large number of realtors who do control a large amount of business. But by and large, the realtor control over purchase leads continues to diminish as consumers are finding other resources. And that part of your plan has to include staying better connected to your database, being more aware of things on social media, understanding that these other professional relationships are important in creating immense value for the two of you, as well as providing a better quality of experience for the customer. So balance of power and the changing of the balance of the referral triangle are things that you really need to diagnose in your own business and drill down on, and saying, who am I looking for? Who are the people that I need to identify relationships potential anyway? Because how am I going to approach declining control of realtors on purchase lead referrals if I'm not compensating for that by investing my time and energy and looking at other resources like other professionals, my own database, my own presence on social media to control the relationships I've already established, as well as making relationships with people who can control a lot more of that business, who people are going to and asking for help. The second phase of today's conversation is really what I call the inventory and refi lies that are permeating the industry. And God, it really amazes me that for years, and it has been years and years now, we've all heard from our realtor referral partners or our clients that they're not able to buy a house or they're not able to show properties because of a lack of inventory. And many of you have heard me say this before, and those of you who have seen me live at events knows that somewhere in the course of me doing a live event, I will tell people, about the inventory lie that has permeated the real estate market. It is excuse number one You know, in realtors, if there was only more inventory, I could sell more houses. Really, because the metric of inventory, I think, is a false one. I think it's something that used to be a statistic that was somewhat helpful in the big picture, but I think in today's environment, in a buyer's market, in a seller's market where there are more buyers than there are sellers, and being aware of that fact lets us know something very important. If there are more buyers than there are sellers, unless the house is a total and complete dog that is ridiculously overpriced, why would any house be in inventory? You know, the metric of watching, and again, National Association of Realtors for years, every year they're, oh, declining inventory, declining inventory. There's only so many days worth of inventory on the market. That is the biggest nonsensical load of crap I've ever heard. All you have to do is take 5 minutes and look at your own market. And how many times has a house come on the market on a Friday and been in contract on a Monday? That house never made an inventory report. That house was never really in inventory for more than 3, 4, or 5 days. Look at the houses that are properly priced in your market. I don't care what resource you use. A house that is properly priced in every market is sold in virtually no time. The first weekend it hits the market, that bad boy's got offers all over the place, and sometimes even higher than asking price, and those houses are gone. So here is the thing, and how do I prove that I'm right here? Okay, how is it possible that home sales, total home sales, has grown year over year, all right, nationally by more than 20%, okay? And years before that, we're talking about this thing where home sales continues to rise. Everybody keeps telling us, oh my God, we're gonna have another housing crash because all these people are going crazy over buying houses. We keep hearing the inventory problem. If inventory was really the reason, how are we growing 20%? This is not a new issue. Realtors and people have been complaining about inventory issues for years. For years. Okay? Then how are we constantly growing the number of transactions? Think about it. Because nobody's given me an answer other than the fact we're seeing more real-time sales. We're seeing more and more houses coming onto the market and being sold within either hours or days of hitting the street. And an offer is accepted and the property's under contract. We're literally seeing properties, you know, when they talk about flying off the shelves. So here's the issue. It's more real time than it's ever been before. I have clients out in Colorado, and I think we've had this conversation for 5 to 8 years now. Inventory, 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 how many times we don't have inventory, and how many times their clients, you know, they made offers 3, 4, 5, 6 times before they ended up getting a house. For God's sakes, you can't have an inventory problem for 8 years and see increasing home sales. There's not that much new construction being built that's meeting that need. So guess what? Okay, you have to adjust your mindset as to the fact it's more real time. The people who are going out there and engaging the system and finding the properties that their buyers want and need and having the discussion, and let me tell you something, 2020, amongst a lot of other things, and despite all the quarantines and the shutdowns, the forever home strategy has been a godsend for the people who are using it. The sheer number of people that we have either refinanced, or the people who saw the value instead of refinancing to list and sell their house and buy another one, is astronomical. It's a huge number. Even now, we're seeing people coming to the table who are looking at this market and saying, you know what, I can't be quarantined or shut down in this house again. I'm going to buy the house with another bedroom, another bathroom, whatever, bigger yard, whatever it's going to be. And I'm pulling the trigger on that now, and they're getting out there and they're making it happen. Well, the trade up borrower has been the key, because that's the inventory that we need to get those other people started. When people realize that they can move up, when people realize they can find an agent who will do the groundwork. And again, I've had loan officers working with realtors, and there hasn't been a time where they haven't gone out there and either talked to the community or at least put out flyers sharing links to videos or phone numbers to call or posing some questions, where loan officers and realtors are not getting loan applications and listing appointment requests, or talk to them about what they could afford or what their house is worth in this market. It's phenomenal how well that works, and it's beyond me why more people aren't doing it. So the inventory, to me, the lie, the excuse about, well, we're not doing more business because there's not enough inventory, is crap. Because again, home sales are up year over year, and in some markets significantly. So I'm not buying it. I think it's a statistic we'd all be better off with people not looking at, because to be honest with you, the only houses that are sitting 30 or 60 or 90 days on the market are houses that we know are total garbage or so out of price that it's never going to go. And again, I see it here in my own neighborhood. People who put their houses on the market that are $100,000 overpriced. And it sits there. And not only do they finally have to, well, they start dropping it down, but then it takes them 6 months to 8 months to a year to sell a house for about $20,000 less than what they could have gotten had they put the house out at the proper price when it first hit the market. Because a house that sits on the market, everybody knows is a dog. Everybody knows that there's a problem. And sometimes it's price, and sometimes it's the penalty for being somebody who comes onto the market too high. But houses in my area, as well as in many of my clients' area that come on the market and they're properly priced, they're gone. And again, it's a rotating basis. They're not sitting around and waiting. New people are listing, going into contract and selling, and moving on. So stay away from that lie. The secondary lie is when it comes to the whole refinance situation is, well, we're refinances are dead. Everybody that needed to refinance has refinanced. Well, saw a report last week in National Mortgage News, and they talked about, according to their research, that approximately half the current mortgages in force in this country have interest rates higher than 4%. So I'm not guessing all the refinances are dead. I'm guessing that there's still plenty of people out there who would benefit from a refinance. I also caution people to say, hey, who are the people out there who 1, 2, 3 years ago, when we talked about this before, FHA loans? How many people out there have FHA loans with permanent MI? How many of them live in marketplaces where, again, they've seen 4 and 5 and 6% a year appreciation? Well, after a couple of years, is that house is now appreciated? Is there not room in there to either refinance that person out of permanent MI into a conforming loan, and into a conforming loan that either maybe has small MI, a single pay premium could take care of, or lower MI because of loan to value circumstances, and not only lower their interest rate on their payment, but lower their MI costs significantly, if not eliminate it completely. But if you're not talking to those people, they're pretty happy because they're in their house and they're making their payments, and for them life is good. They don't understand, and maybe you got some people that you put into an FHA loan at 3.99 or 3.75 who don't think it's a, rate and term, or maybe even people who are thinking about doing a streamline. And there's not enough value in it for them to do a streamline, but maybe there's value in it not to do a streamline, but to eliminate the MI. There may be people out there where that conversation is a big deal. But if it's not in your mindset, if it's not in your repertoire, all these people who are buying these leads lists to call these FHA people and, quickly do a streamline, they're never having the conversation about why they shouldn't get out of, an FHA loan with permanent MI. Nothing makes me cringe more than the fact that some of these people are making this decision and could easily sell their house and buy another one, or refinance into a conforming loan, and either have a time frame in which the MI would disappear or eliminate it completely while lowering their payments. I don't know why that conversation doesn't happen more, but I know it's not happening at the rate it needs to be, because the loan officers that I'm working with who are having those conversations are finding plenty of people on the radar that either want to list and sell their house or refinance their house into a conforming loan and eliminate or reduce the MI, and at least put it into a spot where it eventually will go away. These are all conversations that we need to have and be having with our people, because if we don't, we're not truly giving them all their options. We're not making them aware of what this market can bring to them. The last piece of this conversation this month, and the third key to what I think we need to be aware of going into 2021 is the widening gap that I see, and I'm sure you see, between quality and quantity. Our industry is making it quite clear, with increased competition from online lenders, increased competition from online real estate, increased competition from call center type lenders, the increased competition from people who just think that it's all about slamming together a transaction, the transaction that works best for the lender, not necessarily the consumer. How many of those are out there, and how many of those are happening on a regular basis that we can't possibly stop? I cringe at the fact that so many loan officers are dependent on either being call center people or working off of leads that they're purchasing, and building these huge teams of people who are doing nothing more than filtering information and talking to people and shuffling them around without maybe their best interest in heart, and certainly not providing a quality experience. I don't see that there is a way that somebody calls themselves an originator and gets out there, and their only goal is to see how many transactions they can do, and how much the dollar volume is, and how quickly they can go on to the next deal. To me, the quality of the experience leads to the quality of the relationships, both between you and the customer, and you and the potential referral partners. And while I will concede the ground that the internet has taken away from many originators, and how great a job billions of dollars in advertising has done convincing most consumers that they're not entitled to a great experience, that they're not entitled to all of their options, they're not entitled to having a local professional who understands their market and their circumstance, who's done loans before, and again, my favorite thing is to all of these online lenders. I had it happen with one of my clients. I've often used the conversation about online lenders and asking, hey, look up their NMLS number and see how long they've been in the business. I said, what percentage of call center lenders were making pizzas, 6 months ago? And I've said that I don't know how many times. And during one of my coaching calls, I was speaking to one of my clients who said, you're not going to believe this. I shared that with one of their clients and used the line that I used. That person could have been flipping pizzas, 6 months ago. And the client went to the look and looked this person up on the NMLS site. And guess what? They had been in the mortgage business exactly 7 months. And their last job was at a pizzeria. And the client said, how did you know? Now, it's not that we knew that specific loan officer was doing that, but how many people are being attracted to the lure of the money in the mortgage business where it is, fast and easy? We come in, we throw this stuff together and without really knowing what our business is or what all the options are for that customer, we're just focused on putting stuff together and making it stick and closing a loan. And in some cases, those outcomes might be the same as what it would have been as far as financial considerations go from working with somebody that's a relationally bound individual. But the quality of that experience can't possibly be the same. And, I put this out there. There's nothing wrong with being a transactionally based lender. There's nothing wrong with being out there and just slamming your loans together and getting them done, because many clients don't have any expectation that the mortgage experience is meant to be a good one, that the home buying experience is meant to be a good one. You can go online and you can search and you can see horror story after horror story after horror story about how miserable a thing it was to buy a house, what a miserable experience it was getting a loan, how long it took, all the delays, the running around at the end, the missed closing dates, the expense of canceling or moving or changing moving companies, or having to change lenders, or finding out at the end of the day after giving up the lease on my apartment that I can't get a mortgage loan the day before closing. Those happen more times than it should ever take place. And each and every one of us in the industry should look at that and say, you know what, that's not what I'm going to do. That's not where I'm going to be. Because if we're not going to share our value, and again, the people who are going to see this are largely people who already understand what I'm saying, but I'm going to post this video to YouTube on the chance that as people are looking around and seeing this, that there are some loan officers out there who are not doing a great job, who are not providing a great experience, not because they wouldn't want to, but they don't know any better. They've never been taught a different way. They've never seen the possibility of not only doing a great job for the customer, doing a great job for the referral partners, making the transaction flow smoothly, and providing a great experience, and understanding that there's a damn good living in building a mortgage practice that's focused around relationships and quality, not just quantity. And oh, by the way, I've got people who are focused on the quality of the loan experience, who do hundreds of loans a year, hundreds of millions of dollars in production with small groups of people that they have built to be a quality experience. Are they doing all the loans in their marketplace? Hell no. They're not there to do every deal, but they're there to provide a quality experience and a service for people who want to go out and buy a house or refinance their property, knowing that they've had all the choices without the hassle of not being told the truth and be given a system by which they can consummate a transaction one way or the other, purchase or refi, without it being a horrible horrible situation. And again, there's far too many people who are like that in our industry. And I'm hoping that between those of you who are watching this, those of you who will see this, you will do your research and understand it's really important to understand the value of the relationship, both with your clients and with your referral partners. It's really important that you share the power of your pre-approval and your process as to why doing it the way that you're doing it is better and leads to a better experience. For some of you who are thinking about adding to your team, you may not need another assistant. You just might need a better system. And the ability to provide a great experience for your customer will often lead to you having a better system that requires less people, not more, and a better series and a higher number of really great outcomes. If you're not talking about the power of your pre-approval and how your process benefits the customer, benefits the buyer's agent, benefits everybody involved, and may actually get them to win a deal that they might not have won, but because of your process and because of the fact that you can close in 30 days or less because you've already done the work, might be the thing that gets that customer the house of their dreams as opposed to not. If we don't understand the power of our pre-approvals and we don't convey that message to not only our clients, but our referral partners, why this process works better for everyone, if we're not going to be the champions of our own message, then we're not really much better than a call center lender. And why these standards matter. If we don't set standards for ourselves, if we don't set standards for our clients and our referral partners, how are we ever going to upgrade the quality of the experience in our industry? Far too many people don't have the backbone to stand up and say, I'm not going to do a bad job. I'm not going to half-ass this conversation. I'm not looking for the easy way out. I'm not taking a client who has bad credit and then going, oh, let's go out and get them the house right now. You got a 625 credit score, without explaining to them how much less expensive it would have been for them had they stuck with improving their credit another 2 or 3 months and getting their credit score to 650 or 680 or 700 or more, and further reducing the long-term cost of borrowing by thousands and tens of thousands of dollars over the life of that loan. It's about understanding these things and sharing them. Now, you can't make the client choose these things, but they can't choose if they don't know what the options are. So it's really important in our arena to understand that while much of the industry is still taking 60 days or more from first contact to closing a loan, the fact that by following your pre-approval process, by putting the steps in place, empowering that buyer and that agent to make offers that are based on what they can bring to the table. You've got some sellers who are sitting there saying, I want your offer not to be contingent on an inspection or an appraisal. Imagine what happens when you can sit there and say, hey, look, I can close in 30 days or less. You've got something to counter these arguments with so that you've got a negotiating position. Is it going to work for you every time? No. But the number of times where it's a place to start could be invaluable. So I hope these things are valuable to you. I hope taking the time and spending these 40, 45 minutes going through this information, you see the value and helps you change perspective. There's so much about what can happen for you in 2021. We can't possibly cover it all here. but there is a lot that's happening and a lot that you can control. And there's no reason that 2021 can't be as good or better than what 2020 was when it comes to units and dollar volume, when it comes to purchase activity and refinances. If we've had the type of year that we had, given all the things that were going on with coronavirus and this crazy presidential election year and everything else that's happening, there's no reason to believe that the consumer's desire to really buckle down and put together their situation is such so that they can own the place where they live and live in the place that they want to own. We can help facilitate those things, and we can do it on a daily basis. And there are plenty of people out there in 2021 who are going to need our help, who will want our help, and will only find us if we spread the word, share the information, and make it possible for them to see that there are options. So all of you, please have a great Thanksgiving. I know we're approaching the holiday season. Be safe, be careful, but enjoy yourselves, and we'll talk to you again next month. Take care.